So the first part of your experiment is looking at the nature of the reactants. You would take that strip of magnesium each time and dissolve it into a variety of acids. Now that magnesium is reacting with the hydrogen ions in the acid, but not all acids are created equal. Some acids are stronger than others. Some acids more fully dissociate to give hydrogen ions. So the acids which work the fastest and give the quickest reaction are going to be the ones which fully dissociate by giving the highest concentration of hydrogen ions. So you'll look at your results, and the fast reactions will be for the strong acids. So for each team of two, one person should be putting the magnesium strips into the test tubes rapidly, while the other person starts the stop clock and starts recording the time it takes for each chemical reaction to finish. Remember, the chemical reaction isn't finished until that fizzing of the hydrogen gas being produced stops. For the experiment on concentration, remember, as concentration increases, the number of collisions increases. So greater concentration means more collisions and a faster rate of reaction. Conversely, lower concentrations means less collisions and a slower rate of reaction. You'll take the hydrochloric acid and you'll take a series of test tubes and add the appropriate amount of water to each as shown on the experimental sheet, and then add the appropriate amount of acid each time. Mix each test tube individually, and you'll then have the appropriate molarity in each test tube. The molarity just being a measure of the concentration. Now put the weakest acid to the left and then go from the 1 upwards to the stronger acids on the right hand side, and again add your strips of metal as quickly as possible, one at a time, while the other person in your team has started the stop clock and records the time on the stop clock when each reaction finishes. And if you have your concentration dilutions done perfectly, then we should start on the right hand side with the first reaction finishing, then the next to the left, then the next to the left, and so on until the last reaction still running is the last test tube on the left, which is the test tube with the lowest concentration of acid. So you don't have to do each reaction individually and then restart your stop clock. Do them all consecutively and just record the time as the stop clock keeps running until you've got all 5 experiments done. The next experiment is looking at the effect of temperature on the rates of reaction. Remember, as temperature increases, molecules are moving faster. So if the molecules are moving faster, there are more collisions, which will increase the rate of reaction. But when the molecules do collide, they're also colliding with more force, more energetically. So at higher temperature, more of your collisions will have the desired energy of activation minimum to break the existing chemical bonds. If we don't break the bonds, we never get reaction. So there's more collisions at higher temperature, and more of those collisions have the needed energy of activation. So some reactions are carried out below room temperature. You'll need an ice bath. And some reactions are being carried out at above room temperature. Remember, it's not the temperature of the beaker of water which is important, although that has to be right, of course. It's the temperature of the solution inside the test tube. That's where the chemical reaction is happening, and it's that test tube solution with the acid that has to be down or up to temperature before you add in your metal to start the reaction. and record the time for the reaction as normal. Remember, as temperature increases, the reaction time should decrease as the reaction speeds up. So check your results as you go and look out for any erroneous results, which may suggest you might want to repeat individual experiments. You'll also look at the effect of surface area on the experiment. We have got 3 different kinds of zinc. We've got plates of zinc, we've got granular zinc, and we've got mossy zinc, which is a kind of porous kind of zinc. And we know that the surface area to volume ratio is important for the rate of the reaction. As we grind down a substance, or as we increase the surface area for a substance, that increased surface to volume ratio means that more of the chemical is exposed and capable of undergoing chemical collisions. The more collisions we have with an increase in surface area, the faster the reaction will be. Now for these 3 chemicals, the zinc plate, granules and the mossy zinc, you won't be timing the reaction till it finishes. You'll just be visually observing the rate of bubbling as the hydrogen is produced. And you'll assess how fast the reaction is, and therefore how great the surface area to volume ratio is, based on how rapid the bubbling is. As the bubbling becomes more rapid, we have a faster rate of reaction. So it's only going to take about 10 seconds for each sample to work out the comparative rate. For the last experiment, which is an experiment on the effect of a catalyst, remember that catalyst provides a surface for the chemical collision to occur. We're holding one of the chemicals down, so that collision is going to be a more effective collision when we're hitting a stationary target. So that catalyst holding down one of the chemicals for the collision, it lowers the energy of activation requirement. So more of the collisions will have the energy of activation, the energy required to break the existing bonds, when a catalyst is used. And again, as you did with the surface to volume ratio experiment, just look at the rate of bubbling. And the faster the rate of bubbling, the faster the rate of the reaction. Remember, the catalyst itself is unchanged during the reaction. So it could be reused when the catalyst is able to be recovered. Right. So looking at Excel, this is Excel Microsoft 2007. You've probably got a more recent version, but this is the one I've got. So let's make a graph for the effect of concentration of acid on the rate of the reaction. So we'll enter some data. The first column is going to be your column for the time, and the second column would be the column for the concentration. So if we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for the concentration of the acid and molarity, and just zoom in on that. That's better. And that first column will be the time. So this is just data I'm making up. Of course, you'll have your data from the experiment. So let's say that with a molarity of 1, it took 400 seconds. Molarity of 2, 200 seconds. Then for, I'll cheat and work this out, double the molarity again, 400, that'll take 100 seconds. So 3, somewhere in the middle, about 1, maybe 160, whoops, 160 for the time. Then 5, about maybe 88. And then 6 compared to 3, half would be, say, about 75. Because if the concentration doubles, we'd expect the rate of the reaction to double, hopefully. So there's our data for this, and we're going to make a graph of it. So highlight the data you want to use. Remember, this is going to be the x-axis, and this is going to be the y-axis up the side. And we'll go to Insert, and on 2007 it gives you the different kinds of plots you can do. Let's choose a scatter. We'll choose a scatter with a smooth connected curve. And hey presto, there's a graph of data. Just bring it up. I drag on the corner just to expand on that. And if I click on the graph itself and the lower threshold there, I can just move it up a bit and move it, let's see this. So this I'll try and just delete. We don't really need that. I click on the graph again, just expand the limits. And you want something that's going to fill the screen or fill the page that you do the print off of. And while on the graph, we're going to insert a text box. So insert text box. And it's got the downward arrow for where I'm going to put it. Let's put it here. And we'll put effect of concentration. Just match up the text box to where the text is going to be. Right there's nice. Maybe italicize the text. Maybe put it in a different colour. Maybe red. Nice red. Maybe increase the size. Just play around. Okay, and for the axis down here, let's put in another label. So insert again. Oops, and do that. Just grab, try and grab the edges of the box. Just drag that down into the middle. So these kinds of graphs, you can copy it and then paste it into a Microsoft Word document and then print it off, or print off from the Excel sheet, whatever you wish. Just make sure that your graph should fill up the screen, fill up the page, and take up most of the graph paper. And then you can print that off. A little bit haphazard, as we can see with some of the results, but we're getting that general trend as the concentration decreases, the time for the reaction increases, the reaction rate is slowing down. So you've got a graph like this for the effect of concentration, and a graph like this for the effect of temperature.